gosh, Colby, that's
That is the most
enormous.
amazing swarm I've ever seen.
I have never seen a swarm that big.
Really?
No.
They were like half the size.
They're like,
of
it's
that.
like 2.5 feet long.
Holy crap.
And then there's
I guess I
another.
over-exaggerated. I said 3 to 4.
Oh.
That's 3 to 4.
Wow,
That's
look.
3 feet. This is 6 inches.
He's single.
And it's Aunt Bee's birthday.
And it's Aunt Bee's birthday. And we're catching the bees. I think we'll name them Aunt Bee.
Yeah, I think that's
The Aunt Bee
appropriate.
Hive. I love that.
Aunt Bee's legend lives on.
In honor of Aunt Bee. My bee whisperer. Okay, here you go. Welcome back. My name is Corinne Phillips, and this is Fresh Pea Cooks. I got a call last night from a friend who said he nearly died. He was out mowing the lawn, and he rounded a big shrubby tree in his yard and just about walked into I think he said it was like a 4-foot long bee swarm, but it was really only 2.5 feet. You know how you guys measure. Anyway, so Glenn and I got up this morning and we headed over there first thing, and it was this giant swarm. Now, swarming is natural behavior for honeybees. The queen evacuates the hive, takes half of her workers, and goes off to find a suitable home. In the existing hive, she leaves behind 3 queen cells, and whichever hatches first becomes the reigning queen. Now, the interesting thing about swarming is it ensures genetic diversity. So now you have a new queen, you have new drones, you have all of these baby bees, and you get 2 hives for the price of 1, really. The bad thing about swarming is that about 5% of the bees that swarm find a suitable home to survive the winter. So this late in the season, it's early July, the likelihood of them finding a suitable home that's large enough for the colony to grow, to get ample food stores for the winter, and to be secure away from predators is pretty slim in the wild. So fortunately, we're going to take them. We're going to provide them a house. I have honey. I was about to harvest a couple frames from one of my hives for us to eat, but actually I'm going to give it to the bees, the new bees, to eat, because if you feed them sugar water, you weaken their immune system, and it prevents them from being really strong, and it makes them more susceptible to nosema and some other bacterial and viruses that get into the hive. So honey for my new bees, I didn't have a 3rd hive. I only have 2, but I have boxes. I have supers that I put on top of my other hives. So I've ordered a bottom board, and I've ordered another roof, and that was basically all I need. So Glenn this morning made me a makeshift bottom board, and it was just a piece of plywood that he put a 1-inch riser all on 3 sides. And so there's an entrance where the bees can go in. So I'll walk you through the process of capturing the swarm. I went out, and luckily for us, it was encased in this branch, like a really thin little wimbly branch. And there was 4 of them actually. I just held all 4 of the branches together, cut them with some nippers, and just put them straight in the big bin that we have for them. And then I put the lid on the bin, just offset maybe this much, so that the bees that are out flying around can go in. And then we duct tape the lid so the wind won't blow it off. Tonight, right at dusk, I'm going to go collect the box. And the reason that I left it over at Colby's house was so all of the bees, all of the scout bees that are out looking for a suitable house, when they come back tonight, I can get the whole entire swarm and nobody dies. So if you do catch a swarm, don't retrieve them. Leave the box in the location and don't retrieve them until nightfall. Once I grab the box tonight, I'm going to bring it home, and depending on how dark or light it is, if it's really dark, I'm not going to do it in the dark because I've had a little bit of a mayhem doing that before. I'll just wait till morning, and then we'll take the bees, the box, invert them into this hive, and I'm just going to take one big aggressive, kind of scary thwack, and you just shake the whole box right into this beehive. So right here, what I have is my makeshift lid But I have 3 supers. And this is going to be the brood chamber. These bottom 2 boxes are where all the bees are going to live. And then this top one doesn't have frames. It just allows me, it's like a spacer. So when I put all of the bees in, there's so many that they will eventually filter down and start filling up these frames. Now, I've put a little bit of beeswax foundation in these frames, and it just serves as a guide so that they can start making honey ASAP and brood chamber. So after a day, I'll take this top box off, and the bees will filter down and move into the bottom 2 boxes. Now, it's going to be imperative that they have food. So it takes several days for them to orient to their new location. This is a very different environment than they are from. And so even though they're here right next to my garden, they still need a lot of food. So I'm going to take 2 frames, which is why there's space in the top of this, from my other hive and move them over. You do run the risk of, if that hive has a disease of some sort, you do run the risk of contaminating this other hive. But I've done this for several years now. I think this is my 8th or 9th year. And it seems to be very beneficial practice to give the bees honey rather than sugar water. After a few weeks, then I'll check out their activity and make sure that there's brood in there and the queen is laying eggs. And then if they've started to fill up the combs, then I can go ahead and put a 2nd or a 3rd super on top. Now, there are a few considerations when you are placing a hive. For me, I live in a super windy place and we get blasted from this direction. So I've just put it on the leeward side of the house, out of the wind. So the bee line is unobstructed, which is something you want. When the bees come out, they're not going to run into a car or a wall or a walkway or somewhere where there's a lot of traffic and activity. And then they also want to get that morning sun, so that eastern sun. This is a really good place for 2 reasons. They're going to get sun until about noon, and then at noon they're going to be fairly shaded in the summer, but not in the winter because of the overhanging eave right above us. So I think it's going to be a great place for them. My garden is right here. I'm touching the fence right now, and so they'll have a delightful place with lots of flowers and food and water and everything they need. I'm very excited about my new bee family. This is the only time that we've ever had 3 hives. And I'm going to take you over to my other 2 existing hives, and I want to show you something really cool that happened to us this spring. 2 winters ago, this hive closest to me collapsed. They just disappeared. When I came out in the spring, there was not a bee to be found. Plenty of honey stores. The boxes weighed probably 20 pounds. There was so much honey in there. And then last year, I had some hip issues, so lifting heavy things was out of the question for me. And I just got really busy and didn't clean out the hive. So when we went into winter and went into fall, I was stewing about it, but there wasn't a lot I could do. And so I just left it thinking, well, maybe I'll recycle the honey for that hive the following spring, and just to give them a jump start if they survive. So I came out this spring to start cleaning out the hive, long overdue. And the day before I came out and I looked inside, just kind of assessed the damage. Well, the following day I come out and there's bees coming in and out of the hive. And I watched them for quite a while thinking maybe they were robber bees that were coming in just to get the honey. And I thought maybe they were the neighbor bees coming over to raid the honey stores. But no, it was a full swarm had moved into this hive. Now the problem is the hive had wax moths in it, and it was not in really great shape. There weren't ants, which was great. There was plenty of capped honey, but it was just yucky for being vacant for several months with the wax in it. And so these bees don't seem to mind. Every day you see all of this detritus on the board. It's like little cocoons, and I don't even know what all of that stuff is, but they just drag it out every day and do their housekeeping, and they seem to be thriving. So I don't want to get in there quite yet. They've only been around for a couple weeks. I'm going to give them a few more weeks, maybe at like 4 or 5 weeks. I'll get in and check and make sure that there is a queen and she's laying eggs, and see how they're doing in there. But pretty amazing to just one day come out and see a vacant hive full of bees. I hope you've enjoyed watching the process of catching a swarm. It's one of those amazing things that happen in nature that's really, you feel very blessed to be privileged to. I remember one time Glenn and I were in Africa, and we heard this noise that sounded like a helicopter. And all of a sudden it was this like low, dull, like, and it started getting louder and louder and louder. And then it was loud, like cicadas are loud, like this like white noise that you just can't get out of. And we start looking around, and there was this black cloud, and these bees in swarm just went right over our head, only like 20 feet from us. It was really spectacular. I've never actually seen a swarm here, but I've caught several swarms, so I've actually seen the end results. But it's one of those things that's really magical. When I was picking them off of the ground, one little branch fell down, and I was scooping them up, and you can feel the vibration from their wings through your gloves, and it's really fabulous. I think bees are amazing creatures. So for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. And for those of all my old subscribers, thank you very much. Thank you for your letters and your cards and your gifts, and your constant check-ins with me over the course of my rehab. For those of you who don't know, I recently had 2 kind of experimental surgical procedures, stem cell injections into both of my hips. And I'm, 3 months post-op, and I've had days with no pain, which is really extraordinary given that it's been several years since I have been able to say that. So I'm very hopeful. I went in 3 weeks ago and had PRP done, injected into my hips, and that was really fantastic. One of my subscribers is a doctor, and he has done PRP for 14 years, and he was instrumental in being my consult and guide, and he even spoke with my doctor here in Portland, and they had a nice chat about different approaches. So thank you. I really appreciate that. So it's been a really extraordinary journey. I was very happy while I was non-mobile, and interestingly, it was really, the last month has been really hard for me, transitioning and trying to just make space for what happens if I can't walk well, or what happens if pain is part of my new narrative. And I wasn't really expecting that. So I've been away from videos for too long because you guys feed my soul, and this is really rewarding work, and I love it so much, and I miss you so much. So I'm feeling better, and my body is healing, and yeah, I'm very, I just feel very lucky. So thank you. Thank you for your prayers and your love and all your support. So if you've enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment, say hello. I've missed you. I'd love to hear from each and every one of you. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next video. Hi, babies. Hi, my loves. Hi, my babies. Hi. Hi, Nogi. Hi, my baby boy, my love. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, Nog. Oh, Noggy. Before I go, you have to see these babies. They're getting so huge. This is Eggnog. This is my favorite one. Eggnog is a rooster, and it seems it's always the case that the roosters are just the super sweet ones. Like they want to be snuggled more, they want to be loved more, they're more affectionate. And Eggnoggy's no exception to the rule. I did go ahead and adopt a rooster. Look at this handsome guy. So pretty. I did go ahead and adopt a rooster. When was it? Maybe a month, maybe 2 months ago. And this handsome devil behind me, but he terrorizes Eggnog. He terrorizes, actually Bertie Sanders is also a rooster. So I've got 2 boy birds that I raised up from fuzzballs that I'm highly attached to. And then I have my step rooster here that I didn't raise, but I adopted. And he's a feather puller, and he doesn't really cluck and find food for the ladies. He just like eats it all himself. And granted, he's young. But I found a little farmer. There's a doctor up the valley who has a really large flock of hens, and he has room for 3 roosters, and he only has 2. So I'm rehoming this guy, and he's really beautiful. And I think he's just young, but he's just not as nice as my boys are, and I want to keep my boys together. Eggnog and Bertie Sanders are basically twins. They're identical, and they're hilarious, and they're funny together. So they're sticking around, but I just had to show you a little update on my babies because they're so sweet.